certain nuggets of truth that should be
Yeah.
memorized by time.
Oh,
Don't
whoops.
censor yourself, by the way. We're going like full blast, by the way.
No. I get you. And I do need to learn how to edit, but I accidentally hit stop recording. But I can probably
Okay.
edit it to where it's like I combine this. But granted, this is a good flip to the next scene type of thing, talking about our relationship. So like
Exactly.
So everyone who listens, this is how we essentially met. I was playing the game War Thunder, and I was in a heavy bomber, and those suckers are slow, and fighters will swarm you, and you die unless you have an escort. And I freaking type in the chat, "Hey, can anyone please escort me?" And then here comes Tony Swan in a Zero, and just shoots down all my keeping me safe at 13,000 feet up. And then that's how we met. And we kept on playing, talking together, figuring each other out. And then the one joke that just still hits me hard is when I was dropping bombs on a target. You're like, you know, that's my grandma's house.
It was for anyone who's listening as the Guam map. I'm actually from Guam, but I'm just like fucking just a target. Goddamn, fucking hit your mark. But I mean, like my grandma would hate me, but goddamn, I want to get some points.
Yeah, I'm dropping at least nearly 10,000 pounds of explosives. It just sticks with me, and I just tell.
Stop laughing. I gotta fucking breathe.
Well, it hurts me to laugh. I got a freaking hole in my hip.
You got when you gotta laugh, you gotta laugh.
I just love that, and like I'm not the best at like making jokes, but here comes Tony Swan out of nowhere, left field.
Even if it was like the most terrible joke ever, I appreciate you just fucking listening to it and be like, "Oh, jeez, that's fucked up." Like it is absolutely fucked up, but thank you for listening. And ever since then, we were just in text chat. It was just text chat and War Thunder.
Yeah, and then it turned.
And then
Go ahead.
No. This is your story. I want to see your side of events.
Okay. So
War Thunder.
We were playing War Thunder, and then we started getting to a point where it's like every day we're playing War Thunder, or it seemed like almost every day. And then we started text chatting each other in the squad menu when we were waiting, and then when we got to the point where like, why don't we just talk, like actually voice to voice, like on Discord. And then that's when I hear ye old Tony Swan, who sounds like Cowboy Bebop. That's another story for another day.
Oh, good lord. We'll figure it out one day. I'll explain some later. That's the next voice chat.
But and then we started chatting, and then we found out that like we're both history buffs. We both love history. We both have autism. We both have all these traits that are just combined so well together.
We're both kind of special, but it vibes between us. It works.
Yeah. Like, even though I have a shit ton of medical issues and a massive amount of mental problems, here comes Tony to my aid with meme care packages. I just send a text, and all of a sudden I get something that makes me laugh so hard that I'm afraid I might wake up my parents.
But any other person would have just said sorry, sent you a thank you card, and continued on. But
Yeah.
At least on my end, I feel like true banter is like your friends, your true friends. They go through a rough time. maybe shit on him a little bit.
Yeah.
They are no different. He has certain medical problems, but that doesn't mean I'm not, I'm going to fucking tiptoe around. I treat him like a friend. I'm going to make banter. I'm going to make jokes about things, and then continue on. Medical maladies don't interrupt me making banter. They don't interrupt me from my friends. I'm
Correct.
going to continue to, be with the dick, but it's entirely out of endearment. It's because ah,
And
I don't like this
and
guy.
what makes
He's my
our
friend. I want him. I will never treat him differently. He's always my friend.
yeah, and same here. And what makes us even better friends is nowadays it's like we're unicorns essentially, that we are people that don't care, like we don't want to fight or die on this hill no matter what it's about. We don't want to fight and die on that hill. We just want to chat and have a good time playing games and chatting about random crazy 5 different thoughts at once. Go on. But yeah, that's the one of the best parts about our friendship is that I've been trying to be more extroverted, but I'm a very introverted person. But Tony is a very extroverted person. That's what makes it such a good friendship because like he can make me laugh, and I try I try jokes, but I'm not the best.
I'm always here for laughs. If anyone ever needs to freaking laugh, I will send them anything and everything. But at least, like, from my perspective, is like, we've been talking long enough that we've gone to, freaking the issues that hit us deep. It's like, I actually disagree with this, or freaking I think that's.
Yeah.
There are issues that I disagree with this motherfucker. 100%. I don't agree at all. But there is a difference between now, like, when people disagree with each other, it doesn't mean you're not friends. There is
Yes.
just an issue, like, you cannot agree with it. If I had to disagree with someone, so, I think this is blue, the other person thinks this is red. I disagree with them, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to stop talking to them. I want to understand what they're saying, and even if I'm not persuaded, it doesn't diminish our friendship.
Yeah.
We can talk about things that are hard. We can talk about things that bother us, things that are, maybe even like ingrained in our bones. We may
Yeah.
disagree, but I'm just going to say, fuck your opinion.
Yeah.
When are we playing next week? We have disagreements, but it doesn't mean we can't be friends.
Correct. And we don't have
Never.
to. It's not like a door or a bridge where it's just like, oh, we disagree. Let me burn the bridge down. No, 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 no. It's more like, okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
If you build if
let's
you
make
build
this
that bridge,
bridge a little stronger. Like it might take it. It could possibly take a little damage, but that's just bad. Like he was saying, bad. Friendly bad
friendly banter.
banter. Thank you. Um, Friendly banter will cause a couple of cracks, but I feel like our conversations usually make the bridge a lot bigger and stronger.
If there is a bridge that we both built together, and
Ew.
freaking he throws like some stones in it, I'm gonna complain to him that freaking I keep tripping on your bridge. But that's not gonna make the bridge fall down. I'm always going to cross that bridge.
Ew.
We are going to be friends for our however long it needs to be. But nothing we've done so far, even if entire opinions are 100% disagree, that doesn't diminish the friendship we've made
And
thus far.
and
And
that's
it's
the
the
thing
future.
that is so sad nowadays, that people don't think each other as other people. Like it's gotten to a point where people are turning against their own family members. And it's just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Like I've been through hell and back, but it just boggles my mind by saying a couple of words and makes someone just hit the nuclear detonation button, and I'm like, what? Everything can be repaired. All bridges can be repaired, but people don't want to focus on that nowadays. And I feel like a big cause of it, and this is my opinion on it, that our phones have shrunk our minds down to the shrunk our realities down, because we forget the Earth is massive. It is a beautiful planet. It is huge. But we're so focused on our phones or social status or whatever that we forget that if a freaking EMP went off, all electronic devices died, we
You
would
certainly
have
have to
to
interact in
result
person.
to converse or to make conversation with people directly. And also the phone thing, you could also say it makes it worse because you're hiding behind a false name and false identity, and that gives you the feeling that, like, oh, I can say whatever I want and no repercussions happen. But if you were in the real life, you would say any of the things that you say. And it's just because I feel like our phones and I guess culture has gotten to a point where our our realities have shrunk down, or we've gotten too emotional or too far away from the main goal of mankind, which is to better ourselves. Because when we have kids, it's our job to make sure that they are raised right and that they will treat each other, if they have siblings, treat each other with respect. You will definitely disagree with each other, but that doesn't mean you should murder your brother. It should mean that, like, okay, you had a fight. Let's figure out how to repair this bridge. But and I feel like that's a massive responsibility. But a lot of parents nowadays, they're neglecting that. They're giving their kids full control. And I just, I don't know. I might be a little too old fashioned, even though I'm 25. I'm young in a lot of people's eyes, but almost all my friends have been adults, and that's just mainly because of um, my entire medical history, where I've only had access to adults and didn't really have. I couldn't really connect with like younger people or kids my own age because they couldn't relate. They didn't have enough world experience, or they didn't have enough empathy, sympathy, however you want to put it, because life right now, mankind is at its highest point of comfort.
That's true.
But I shall pass the mic over to Tony on his perspective.
I know. I disagree with you 100%. Everything you just said in like the last like minute and a half was wrong. So, uh,
And that's it right there. Like, even if he's joking or not, a laugh means, like, that's
just
it.
camaraderie.
Yeah, like, you just laugh. It's not like, oh, I just need to be like, oh my gosh, what I say, and then, like, or he's a piece of shit just because he disagrees with this, that, or this. No, it means that, like, hey, we might disagree, but we can definitely pick each other's minds to better ourselves and to better the people around us.
Have to take a second.
Yeah.
No, just
So
regardless of what it is. Go. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was saying I didn't necessarily hear what your first word was.
Oh no, just Jesus Christ, this is fucking secret topic. But what he was saying was right. at least like in a lot of aspects. We have so many barriers between us and whoever it is we're supposed to be chatting with. We can hide behind names, we can hide behind profiles, we can hide behind so many walls of anonymity that it's hard to see whoever is like sitting there on the other side, who we're actually talking to. If there was someone on the internet you disagreed with wholeheartedly, there was nothing but vitriol between you and them. If you were able to sit right across a dinner table, right across from them, would you be able to say the same things? Would you be able to would you not temper yourself? Would you not like behave differently? And that's why I'm always friends with this motherfucker right here. Because I know, like, even though we say so many things online, I know that's in the exact same situation. Bunch of, me and him, across, not even from a dinner table, let's just say like some small table, let's say an ottoman or something like that. If we were sitting right in front of each other, within punching distance, I wouldn't change a damn word. Nothing. Nothing would change. I wouldn't try to temper myself. I would behave. All right, maybe I would, maybe use a few less curse words because, family might be listening. But me and him would still share the same ideas, and we may disagree on the exact same sort of things. But I know that after whatever hour of banter or whatever hour of discussion we may have about any issue, me and him are going to go out to eat dinner somewhere, Hooters, because, it's the greatest place on earth. But regardless of whatever happens, it doesn't change. Yes, the internet gives us a bunch of barriers, but I've never had any barriers with this guy. It's if he saw me in real life, which at some point will happen, it wouldn't change. He's still my friend. And I feel like that's just a lost art these days. People will always want to paint each other as the enemy.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, at the very least, if I do have any sort of enemy, I would always want to sit down and listen to what they have to say.
Yeah. Because, like, the world, I truly think we could all get along if we just sat down, grab our pride, set it on some other hill 20 miles away, and talk. And I feel like that would definitely help out mankind in a way. It
It's a
wouldn't.
lost art, Ethan. It's a lost art
I know
that we need to
it
try and
is
bring back in any sort of way we can.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the duty of a I kind of feel like that's the duty of a historian, because it's weird to think of it this way, but history, when you really, really think about it, is pretty much the steering wheel of mankind, because we can look behind and see where this river will go, and we can easily turn the wheel left. But nowadays, no one's at the helm of the ship. No one's controlling the wheel. And the ship is just going in circles. Because no one really thinks about, like, hey, what happened in the past? And it doesn't have to be like 500 years, 100 years. It could just be a couple of days. You got to learn from different perspectives and also be able to take metaphorically hits. Yeah, criticism. But I feel like that's kind of the job of a historian, is to try to tell people, hey, this is kind of like connecting the dots on this event that happened here. Because, like, I have connected dots on things on recent day or recent times, and it's scary in some of the things because of how similar it is. And that's another thing about mankind or history, is we love to repeat ourselves. We love to do it for some reason.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's the easiest. It's whatever path is easiest is always the chosen path. Only the only the few, I feel like, are the brave or just the people who truly care are on the hard, rocky path.
You want to know something strange? Just, it's so easy to demonize someone. And even better, it's easy to demonize someone that you don't understand. It's easy to hate. But it becomes very difficult to understand at this point, especially right now, in this point in time. You don't want to understand the other side, at least like where it could have come from. If you really want to, destroy some idea, you can't. If you just simply reject it entirely without giving explanation why, it will just continue to grow. You have to understand where hate comes from. It's a difficult subject, especially
Yeah,
now it just becomes so easy to hate one side. However, you can never truly understand and you can never truly kill an idea if you don't understand where it comes from.
yeah,
If I want to defeat, just throwing out there, racism, if I truly want to, destroy that idea, you can't just say purely it's bad. You have to understand, like, why. Why? You have to know why it happens. You have to know why other people think this sort of way. You can't shut down things on a surface value because it will never be destroyed. You can burn down the forest, but the roots are always going to be there. If you truly want to win someone over to your own side, or at the very least, understand where they're coming from, you can't do that just from yelling from across the street. You have to be able to walk up to them. You have to be able to shake their hand and sit down and listen. Which is, at least in this point in time, it's a true rare thing.
it is.
Which is why friggin' that's why I'm gonna be talking to this friggin' guy right now. Till the end of time. Whenever the end of our times is. Regardless of whatever we believe, I know he's going to sit down and listen to me. And I know I'm going to sit down and listen to him. And that will make us all the better people for it.
Correct. And
We can only wish that other people will hopefully adopt something like that.
yeah, the idea that we don't have to hate or anger, because those emotions, they actually are, I I feel like, the easiest emotions you can have, because you can easily hate someone, you could easily have anger towards someone, you could have wrath, however you want to put it, disdain. But the hardest emotions is understanding, love, compassion, empathy, sympathy. Just pure, not trying to fight this person verbally to death over some idea.
I don't
Because
know.
what
Go ahead,
if,
sorry.
what if, that person you're talking to, what if that was a really, really, really bad day they had? And then now you're making it worse. And then now you just call them all sorts of names because it's so easy to go to hate. And then that person just snaps. And that's, in a way, just truly saddening and cruel. Because the world, at this point in time, yes, there is poverty in the world. But that doesn't mean, and that actually, going on to poverty, like countries, it's kind of,
Oh, man.
it's kind of pretty funny in a way, because when you go over there, talk to those people, they actually care so much about what you think. Well, not in a physical aspect, but as in an emotional aspect. Because like they're happy even though they don't have all the stuff in the universe that all the wealthier countries have. They're at least they have each other. And when I went to Mexico on a missionary trip, I saw so many things, so many people, and it would be easy to think, oh, this person is kind of shady looking, but I didn't go into it like that. I went into it no, like no wrath feeling or no feeling of fear, because that's another thing about wrath and fear and anger. Fear is a hell of a driver for those emotions, especially with the flight aspect of the brain. But that's another story for a different day. But what I'm trying to get at is, even though I was in Mexico, I was sleeping pretty much outside on the ground, and my showers were cold because their showers are essentially buckets of many gallons of water. And if you want hot water, you gotta take a shower very early in the day or in the afternoon, because that's when the sun makes the essentially bucket really warm. But that's just everyday life there for them, and they don't com- like they really don't complain that much. Like the whole time I was there, they were so compassionate. Like some of them even said, or this one nice lady, she said, when I got really homesick and I was missing my mom and my dad. Um, they were they were like, I'd be happy to have you as a son, and that just made me feel in a very unique way of just like, wow, they barely know me, but they're willing to think of me as like a son. And it's just it, without wealth, I feel like that's
You're based entirely on your merits. It is
yeah,
just you as a person.
yeah. And that lady, she made sure I was always okay the entire time I was there. She checked up on everyone as well. She was a big person, as in like a motherly esque type of person.
Mhm.
And even though like we were told not to go walk around or whatever by ourselves or anything, and even though where we were staying, there was concrete walls with broken glass on the top of the walls, I didn't necessarily feel afraid because I had all these people that are so kind to one another, and it just opens your eyes on how that wealth isn't everything. Wealth, sure, it's great. It might be, might as well be a drug, because you're just chasing it. You're chasing wealth, and you don't care who you step on, who you push or shove. As long as you chase that little light beam, you'll go there, instead of stopping, looking around, and then seeing that like you don't need money to be happy. Money is great, yes, to be stable to the point where you can have like a family and all that, but that's kind of
It's
different.
advantageous, but it's not a prerequisite for happiness and love.
True. And like we even went to like I'm pretty sure it was a drug like rehab center,
Mm-hmm.
and even though they were like on stuff or in some of them like you could visibly see scar marks of it, but they were so kind, so kind to all of us. And it wasn't because of like, oh yeah, we're giving you money or whatever. They were just happy to see new people and just talk.
Money is nice, but that's not it's not the guarantee. If you
Yeah,
had no money, it would have been nice regardless.
yeah.
They're just good people.
And that's the thing. Like, yes, there will most certainly be bad people. You can't have light without darkness in this world. But that doesn't mean you can just close your eyes and just not look at the darkness. Sometimes the darkness looks at you. And if you're the light on the light if you're the man that controls the lighthouse and the light in it, and you don't look at the darkness because it's like dark because it's darkness and shine your light over there, you're missing out. Because humans, we are extraordinarily social creatures. No matter how scientific or whatever people say, throughout all history, everyone wanted to stay with their villages or cities. They didn't travel. Like, yes, there was people that were obviously wanting to travel the world to explore places others haven't been. And that's still happening today. Because the earth is massive and we're finding new stuff still. There's obviously a lot less new things to explore, but that doesn't mean that there isn't that the whole world is perfect, everything's done, and now we're just in a digital age. We're we You gotta watch a. I highly recommend people to watch like a documentary or something on the tribes and different nations and see how like the camera crew or the main guy of the show or whatever he joins them and they accept him because he's not there to hate. He's there to learn their ways, to learn to try to harness what they have as knowledge and be kind because they want to make they're like this person actually wants to learn. And so they teach you and they teach these people and these people they actually take all their clothes off or whatever to 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 essentially take everything from the outside world off of them so they can interact with these people who they might look primitive, but in history, some of the most primitive people that we thought were actually they figured out the stars, how to sail through the star or following the stars, or how to travel, map, invent things. Like we forget or we don't know that back in the day, we think they were really dumb and whatnot. No, they were very intelligent societies. That sadly, yes, a lot of them, if not all of them, fell. But that's just society for you. It will, no matter what, a society will eventually collapse into a new thing, kind of like a phoenix.
Mind if I pause you for a second? You and me are right, like, going to discussion about whatever most powerful Naruto jutsu exists to the end of time. But that doesn't mean we can't discuss other things. We literally just been talking about happiness for the last, like,
True.
15 minutes, which no
True.
one else was able to hear, just you and me.
Um,
And as much as like we want to present ourselves to the world in some sort of strange way, that's, if you really think about it, what other people see is not who we actually are. At least in my opinion, the whole point of like us recording and talking about our own conversations was entirely about at least understanding how we think. It's not that we're not empathetic. It's we. I don't know. We're both autists.
Yeah, like we
It's a certain level that's at least like relatively normal society just cannot grasp, and this was just an idea of if they really try to like go back and like try and like bookmark things like how we transition from one subject to the other, and then maybe go back 3 subjects or fucking 5 subjects. It's understandable.
yeah.
It will mostly be left up to the people who are listening to figure it out for themselves, but it gives a glimpse into how our minds work and why some people just can't understand us at a certain level.
Yeah. And like one thing too, like off of like essentially my rant. But
No, I'm ready to go back to your rants. I was just saying that pause it. That was it.
well, I was just saying that like you, what you were saying is essentially what I was trying to get at. Is just like I was trying to get at like even though there's suffering, it doesn't mean that like that's all there is. There is happiness. At least I hope in this world eventually I'll get there. But I'm still pushing through it even though I have a medical file the size of a small child. Um
Size of a freaking novel by Leo Tolstoy. It's even bigger than fucking War and Peace. That
oh
was
my
literally about War
gosh.
and Peace.
Don't get me started on that show.
Next topic. That'll be the next topic for the next rant we get onto. but for now, we're going back to just like beyond the misfortunes of ourselves. There's
Yeah.
more important things to talk about.
Yeah. Like I was just trying to get to the point that like we were trying to express, or I'm trying to express in my own weird way that even though you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, I did that and I corrected myself later on throughout the trip thing. But that does stick with me that like I did judge a book by its cover, and that's what made me think that like I shouldn't do that. I should be more open to all these ideas, and that's why I question. Like when people ask me, "Why do you have so many questions?" It's because I question reality itself, meaning that like I will ask a question about anything because I never get tired of learning information. Is like it's so
Most of us
satisfying to search for information. I don't know why, but if it's information from a book, it's okay. But like I love it better when it's human to human because I can like more easily, in a way, pick their mind. But I shall hand it back over to Tony if he has anything.
Just that the biggest tragedy is like people who we want to pick the brains of the most are the people who don't have the most time for us to like ask all these inane questions.
True.
It becomes very difficult because we want to know if anyone is asking there about. I cannot gauge my level of autism, but I'm pretty sure it's my old friend, the guy who used to name himself the Spectrum Surfer. He could probably place exactly where on the pedestal I sit on levels of autism, but at least like on the very basic level of that kind of, I won't say disability, I'll say understanding.
Yeah.
We want to know more. We will continue to dig into the footnotes. We will, if I see a Wikipedia article and it'll say, where did this source come from? I will actually try to look at the source.
Yeah.
I will try and understand certain things where, at the very least, even if I disagree with them, it came from. But at the very least, bringing it back to happiness and this sort of thing. As you were talking about your trip to Mexico, you know, not liking, brown people and things like that,
Oh
being
my
racist as
gosh.
hell, absolutely terrible. How dare you, sir?
I'm not a racist. You're the racist.
You keep telling yourself that you're gonna ruin.
Oh
Regardless,
man.
regardless of all of that, at least like to me, the thing that we truly fail to understand at some points is what happiness can be and what it really does mean to some people. I'm only going to elaborate this on just a little bit. Maybe I'll talk to you about it later. But friggin', let's just say I was in a facility where I wasn't very happy. But one of the things they did show us in that place was a shitty documentary called Happy. Like, this is some fucking bullshit. This is absolutely. Why are you showing me a documentary? Congratulations, I'm already not unhappy about all these other sorts of things. And at the time, and at least for like the year after, maybe even 2 years, even to a certain points right now, I'm just like, this is cheesy. This is some bullshit someone's trying to push on me. But I've rewatched it recently about what actual happiness to certain people, honestly, probably to like most people, what it actually means. And it showed slices of life from other people's perspective and what they consider to be happy.
Hmm.
And it went all the way from Japan. Good lord, I freaking love Japan. If any of you were listening to before by hand, War Thunder, if I'm playing any nation, it's Japan. It's always Japan. I'm a freaking Japanophile. I love flying my Zeros, even though they technically, literally did bomb my ancestors', place of residence, as you did, Ethan, Aspen. Even though you bombed my goddamn island, destroying my own lineage, ruining my own thing. For some strange reason, I still love their freaking aviation things. I love Japan. I still like it anyways, even though they did terrible things. But it
But
was
that.
it,
Oh, go ahead.
even though they, as terrible as it is, and all the terrible things that occurred, due to war times, I still like it. It's the idea of Japan's ability to rise itself out of the ashes and become, one of the very few countries who was not actually able to be, colonized.
Hmm.
One of the very few nations to be able to resist colonization.
Yeah,
Oh, excuse me.
and I definitely agree with that because like the and that's the thing about us is that like we know that said country did horrible things. Every country has. No one's white as snow. But we can at least understand. Yeah, they might have done. Yes, they did horrific things. But now it is different people. Different people. Like it's not the same people. You can't just judge a race because of what happened nearly 100 years ago.
There are some people who will never forget Germany for whatever, I mean,
Yes,
absolutely terrible crimes, but it doesn't mean that Germany as a whole
and the people that live
it
there,
is entirely condemned for all of time.
correct. Because if it
But
was the name Germany wouldn't even exist on the planet. I feel, at least in my opinion, because didn't Japan
mm,
almost get wiped out from poverty because we
but,
were like controlling everything?
I mean, we opened up freaking free trade with them by
Yeah,
literal gunpoints, but they were given enough leeway that they were not like strictly entirely colonized. And they were actually, uh,
they're one of our closest allies.
they are one of our closest allies,
And
although
that
it was mostly
in a
just
way that
suicide.
is kind of ironic that like our at the time 1944, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, okay, make sure. 1944, December 7th. Um,
No,
that
you're
kick.
thinking of 1941, by the way.
Oh, 41. You're right. Okay.
No,
Uh,
I'm not very right about many things, but I'm taking this one. I'm taking this W. Mm.
but yes, like even though they did, both countries fought so viciously near the end of the war. Some of the Japanese soldiers, and I would think American as well, started to just be like, why are we fighting? What are we fighting for?
Oh, you should have seen the freaking
There's a
pictures of
good.
Iwo Jima posts
Oh
freaking
gosh,
Battle of Iwo Jima. It's
Imo
why do we
Jima.
fight over this? Like it was a
There
fucking
was no
slugfest.
reason to fight there. Like there's no strategical aspect of Iwo Jima, at least that I can understand. Like I haven't looked too much into the reason behind Iwo Jima. I just know a lot about like the battles fought there and had this tactics and stuff. But like
Absolutely terrible. But I will what I feel like the point you're trying to get at is actually is
it's not
another
like
point that I would actually like to. Sorry, go ahead.
well, it's not like what I'm trying to get at is it's not like I'm trying to say, oh yeah, I forgive those people or said people who are doing horrific things. No, no. I forgive their great grandchildren because what did they do wrong? Nothing. It's like blood shouldn't matter to the point of like full on hate.
How responsible are we for the sins of our fathers?
Correct.
If we go by that logic, then buddy, I should absolutely hate you. How dare you take over this
I know, right?
whatever country of all these things? Like, oh my god, you're the absolutely worst person on that. How dare your great grandfather may
Did
have wronged
this.
someone that was. You have to let go at some point.
You do.
Hate absolutely exists, and there is, unfortunately, there is absolutely justifiable reason to hate, but you can't hold on to it forever. If you actually, strangely enough, like back in World War II, if you look at France and Germany, France France lost a shit ton of people. I don't
Oh,
blame
yeah.
them for
Yeah.
hating Germany, but with the Treaty of Versailles, that absolutely wanted to neuter the shit out of Germany. It only created the rise or allowed for the potential rise of erratic power to take over, and that would wage war across Europe. What happened after 1945? Once Germany surrendered, just a few years after, France and Germany made economic agreements. They made trade available. I want to say forget the past, but they would
Lay
move
down
on
the
from it.
hatchet. Or, no, bury the hatchet.
Bury the hatchet. Yeah, actually, goddamn, I didn't think of that. How dare you, sir? But
because, like, at a
you're able
certain
to move
point,
on from hate.
yeah. And then this might upset some people, but yes, in the US and also around the world, there are statues of, at the time, they were either really horrible people, dictators, horrible kings, cruel people, but it's not just a statue. It's not like we're honoring that person. It's to let us know, to remind us what happened, why it happened, and why it shouldn't repeat itself. So the whole part about
Yes, sir.
damaging or tearing down statues, as a historian, I like it actually physically hurts in a way because it's just like, yes, I can understand that, but it's the hate shouldn't be there. You are not who the people who've dealt with the horrific things that this person did. Your ancestry, yes, but not you.
We're now responsible for the sins of our fathers.
Yes. Like I was
I
just
will.
pointing out another aspect of that is like the sins of
I
our
mean,
fathers don't shape you. And if they
I can only judge
do,
people who I have interacted with, and every single person I've interacted with has not minimized or degraded me in some sort of way. Even if, like, Ancestry absolutely did. No. I, strangely enough, as everyone's freaking talking about the US and racism and sort of thing, I still haven't encountered that. It's one of the strangest things that no one else wants to listen to. I'm like, there is no one been able to treat me any sort of wrongly because of who I am. It's at the very least, like in my opinion, we've been the most equal as we could have been at any point in US history. We
yeah.
have truly become better people.
And then we turned into people who just absolutely venomously hate each other. But what's the reason?
Because we
Something
can
that
separate
happened
ourselves
over
between
200 years ago.
because we can separate ourselves entirely. We have 3 screens of internet access
Yeah.
and devices that can separate us, so we never know who we're truly talking to.
Yeah.
But at the
And
very least,
that's
if we
kind of
truly
the
talk to people
thing.
on a base level, we can understand.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a good way to like go in full circle that like how I was talking about how electronics, I feel like yes, they're valuable, but they can also it's like a balancing act. Too much can be bad, or well, is bad. Um, but like people might say that like, oh, we should just get rid of phones or technology. But if we did that, I wouldn't have been able to meet Tony at all. So like, I can't be hypocritical to the point where, yes, I think electronics have done damage, definitely, but it's not the main reason.
It's people. The
Yes.
technology has just been there for people to facilitate communication. It's just how people have been able to twist it and at the very least, distorts other things entirely due to anonymity.
Yeah, and for it to like, in a way, it's a shield. It's something to hide behind because you know you won't get repercussions or whatever because you're not talking to the person face to face. Because if you said some of the stuff that most people type or whatever, if you said that in front of them or someone of that creed, religion, race, or people, heart, whatever, however you want to put it, you would probably be in an ambulance.
You're gonna have a bad time. As South Park would have said it. You're gonna
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
bad
yeah.
time.
You're gonna have a bad time. And a good way to handle all this hate is to turn it, is to grip it, grab it, and just
Understand it at least.
to just try and hold back and just talk to the person that you think is the enemy and then listen to their story and then you tell your side and they, I would hope, do the same, listen, but it change won't happen unless someone steps up to be the better man or woman. Like, it's scary, yeah, because it might put a target on your back, but is it the right thing? Yes. So
The
it's
best
on
thing we
a
can do, bud. The best thing we can do is just hopefully
encourage.
facilitate that person and encourage, as you say, encourage that sort of thing to happen. So you
That's
may have these like all sorts of discussions. And at the very least, like whenever I talk to people about things, you know, if anyone's actually out there thinking, I'm racist or all these other sorts of things, I'm going to say yes, but entirely for comedic effect, because the idea of racism or like any sort of ism to me
mm-hmm.
is ridiculous,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
because it's ridiculous, that makes it funny. It's never to hurt the other person. Everything I've done, everything I've said is because I expect, at the very least, like in my heart, someone's gonna laugh. It's never to hurt. It's always to
and
laugh.
and that's in a way tragic with nowadays because people can't even do the thing that can help bridge or rebuild a bridge, which is a joke to make that person laugh and to make them feel good and have good endorphins in their mind. Because, like, on a medical standpoint, kind of like on the side note, when you
Yeah.
laugh, you release endorphins, and one of the good endorphins is dopamine. And when you laugh, that gets injected into your brain, and then it's still up to you to whether be hateful or try to listen to the jokes, and then the person will talk. But you can't just judge someone over a joke. Because right now, I have seen so many comedians just, they can't have a career. Because if they try to joke about anything, they get attacked, like mauled to death. And it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense on the planet. Because you should go in, like, if you're going there, then you better pull your big boy, big girl pants up and withstand a little bit of, like,
Ridicule. You can
ridicule.
handle a little bit of banter.
Yeah, and sure, like, you might disagree with the joke or whatever, but it doesn't mean you have to hunt that person down and crucify him just because he made a joke that 80 to 90% of the audience liked or thought was funny. Like, that's the whole point of a comedian, is to make people happy. And that's
It's
the
supposed to be the
point
most
of,
unpolarizing thing of all time. It's
yes.
supposed to bring everyone together, at least at some sort of fundamental level. But if you
Because,
can't let that unpolarize things, then it just gets exponentially worse.
oh yeah, because, like, this is actually making me think of it like this. So, the human body, if it is deprived of sunlight for too long, you could actually die. But another major symptom is depression, easily agitated, and a lot of bad chemicals in the brain. Because in a way, we're like plants, funny enough. We
We do
turn,
absorb whatever is around us. Yeah,
yeah.
even if it is shit.
But that's, so, like, imagine you're in a bunker or a vault or whatever. You're deprived
Mhm.
of sunlight, and that is the only thing you can't criticize because it's the sun.
Yeah.
And that light that hits you releases good things for your body. It makes you healthier. It helps your brain. It does so much good for you. But you can't criticize it because it's an inanimate object. But you can
It's an aspect of
criticize,
life.
yeah, and you can criticize a person when they're trying to do the exact same thing as the sun. It's just in a different format of information. So, like, my analogy with the whole bunker thing is like, oh, if you cut off all sunlight, how are you going to be making people happy or release those endorphins that the sun does? It's jokes, comedians. That's how. But
Someone has to make things okay to talk about. And
yes,
that's always comedians who are the first ones on the line. They may get booed or ridiculed for it, but it's the first line of defense for
yeah.
bringing people together.
And if that gets taken down, then in a way, it's a little bit scary because, like, if they're going after people who make jokes, and then jokes aren't allowed in this world, then we're pretty much screwed because we'll take everything at face value now. we won't take it as like, oh, it's just a like how like you joke about me, and I try to somehow make a good joke about you sometimes. But
I appreciate the effort.
but like
But it's
yeah,
never out of place of hate. It's
yeah,
always about camaraderie. I've never made a joke that's meant to hurt someone.
yeah,
It's always been about just building that relationship at the very least. It
and
absolutely may be tasteless entirely, but it's not because I want to hurt anyone. It's because I
yeah,
want us to at least like just get to know that each other a little bit better.
yeah, and like say comedians now, their jobs are already hard enough, and then now it's to a point that like I don't think that there's going to be a lot of them left because the rest of them are going to be either put in jail or fired or whatever, or they can't even come up with any jokes because everything hurts people's little hearts that are so fragile that a feather could shatter you, which is like how someone that I was watching, uh, it was from the show Alone, and it's a little bit a
Yeah.
side thing, but uh, Alone is
The whole
essentially
thing's about this entire side thing. Freaking go on whatever tangent you need to.
Alone is a actually a pretty damn good show, because it's about survival. The
Mhm.
participants get 10 items they can pick from, but they're alone, and they have to They have to outlast all other 10 participants. You get no contact with the outside world, and guess what happens? All those people, they turn into the better versions of themselves because they realize what matters in this world, and that's the people around them. I've seen people on that show that are like the most disdain and hateful, angry people I've ever seen in my life.
Mhm.
And then they come out of it humbled and thankful to the land, to people, or to their family members and their communities. But like this one guy, he made a good philosophical standpoint that like with the whole essentially what he was getting at is the world has made it too easy for people. There's not like people need to suffer even just a tiny bit so they can feel the hardships and then they can see
Empathize.
sympathize, correct. And what he said hit pretty on point or pretty home for me because it's like, yes, finally someone else gets that perspective that like if we can't handle a joke that is not meant to harm anyone, it might sound racist or it could be a little racist, but it's a joke. It's not what they actually believe in. And if that truly offends you to a point where you can't handle it, I feel like that makes that like that's wrong
We become
because like
weaker. We become weaker.
yeah, we definitely have become weaker. Both I like this is probably the worst time I feel like for guys to be around at the moment because they have average like nowadays men have a lot they're actually having low testosterone, having extreme depression, and having all this other stuff because the whole world thinks men are the issue when in fact they're just people. Like everyone's a person. You can't just be like, oh, because one bad guy or man did something that means the whole other side of the human race is evil. Like what? That makes no logical sense.
It's a strange world we live in right now. Although we'll give it one benefit. Well, the shitty world we live in, without all the assholes that created the internet, or at the very least, has poisoned it to some degree. All of those factors need to exist for us to possibly meet.
Correct.
So there is a silver lining. It's much like Pandora's box. Everything terrible has been let out into the world, and everyone else has to figure things out. And
Yeah.
we may never recover. However, somewhere in the corner of that box, somewhere, deep within everything else, press across the dust, press across everything. If you dig in deep enough, it's Pandora's box. Hope does exist.
Yeah.
For everything that is terrible happening, for everything that really should destroy us, small things are worth celebrating.
Yeah.
At the very least, small amounts is you and me fucking talking about these kinds of things.
Indeed. Because otherwise I because of my medical problems, to the people that are listening, I am unable to really leave my house to function as a person because I am in so much pain. It just takes it's too much. It causes too much pain if I try to do anything like a normal person. I have to
Yeah.
do it my own way. That isn't fun. That's very stressful and that's very depressing at times. But the amazing part about what's happened is I've met really good friends. And Tony is I I would jump on a grenade for this guy. He because he has made it to a thing where I can truly be myself. I don't have to hold anything back. I don't have to be chained down and try to and not essentially try not to make someone mad at me because I already have it rough and I don't need people to just be hateful towards me because I don't understand how the world works necessarily. I I only know how it works through my eyes and what I've seen and what I've been through. And I feel like even though I went through absolute hell, I've came out as a better person. But I still have depression. I still have other issues. But when me and Tony play games or chat or whatever, I am not super depressed or super stressed because it's like something in a way to look forward to because it's so relaxing to talk to someone who won't just crucify you if you misstep or miss say something. And
It's a rare thing these days to be able to talk to someone and be able to talk to someone about whatever you want to talk about, whatever is actually bothering you, and go about random ass issues as we have continued to do and will continue to do so. But it's nice to know that whatever you're talking to, it's not a wall. It's a person.
yes,
It's a rare feeling.
and
It's hard to find these days, honestly.
and that's the biggest thing too for me. I don't have in a way I don't have the street smarts or I don't know how to dress to essentially impress. I dress I all I have is the stuff I have picked up and taught myself over the years. And that has got me this far and doesn't that means that that I'm very fortunate to have had so many good friends and people to help me along and push forward even though I've been hitting my breaking point after 15 years of continuous agony and suffering that but my friends and Tony, they make it to where I am able to function, get out of bed, get on my computer, and chat. Because otherwise, I wouldn't have anyone to talk to besides my parents. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just some things are. I don't know how to put it, but
You mind if I try to put it in some way?
yeah.
I just press something like freaking like just give me another 15 seconds, 1 second.
All right.
At least my view may be somewhat hardened and may not apply to everyone else. Actually, no, it doesn't apply to everyone else, but I'll explain in a second. So, whenever you're born, whoever you exist with, and absolutely not many people can maybe relate to this, unfortunately, but whatever family you're in, let's say, just a relatively like normal, functioning family, love is, at least in my opinion, it's relatively given out. My mom loves me. I got a bunch of family who loves me. All these other sorts of things. And most people don't actually get that, which is an aspect that's I just can't understand. You have to find it elsewhere. But as privileged as I am, I'm saying this from a position of privilege. My family loves me, and it's good, and it's nice. However, as selfish as it may seem for compared to other people who may not have that sort of family, to me, in that sort of aspect, it's almost a given. It's, of course, your family loves you and that sort of thing. But the most important thing that truly matters and things like other than that is the love of another who you've never known. The person you have absolutely no relation. There should be no reason for them to come back to you. But because of you, who you are, is the reason they come back. It was never out of obligation. It was never out of any sort of ancestry. It was because of you. You didn't change anything. Because of who you are, you want that person to come back. And, I wasn't going to make a joke, it's gay as shit. But this dude I'm talking to on the other end, I never met him. In fact, technically, I don't really know too much about him. However, there is something about him that makes me want to come back. I want to hear your conversations again. I want to hear opinions I'm going to disagree with. I want you to be there next week or 2 weeks from now, a month from now, potentially even a year from now. Because I know we're going to have a conversation, and it's always going to be the better for it. Because you're on that other end.
Yeah.
And to me, that's one of the best things that you can possibly achieve in life. Wanting someone, or knowing that someone exists outside of you and your own family that wants to hear from you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In a way, I think of you as like a brother that I never had.
Strangely
And
enough, man, I've met like 3 people over the internet, and I don't care what freaking Stranger Danger says. Every single person I met over the internet has been cool as shit. So
yeah,
I feel that streak's gonna keep going. But at least right now,
is it?
I'm gonna need you to be on that other side of the line. Within the next few weeks, within the next few months. I say I'm going through troubles, but my friend, you have a series of unfortunate events going on for you.
Yeah.
But I want you to tell me about them. And I want to read about it in some sort of obituary.
What?
I want to hear. Yeah, man, those things are boring as shit. There's comics on the other page. Why would I read your obituary? I got, there's Garfield on the side telling me about stuff. I have other things to read, but I need you to tell me those sorts of things. while
Yeah.
I'm reading the comics. That's
Yeah.
the best part about this entire thing. I want to hear from you again, bud.
Same
That's the
here.
best. Yeah. It's one of the things to keep moving on for. Whatever trials, tribulations you're going through, there is someone you know, someone you may not even understand. But I promise you, if there's anyone out there right now, there is someone who wants to talk to you again tomorrow, in the next week, the next month, potentially even to the next year. They want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth kicking, it's worth kicking around a little bit more on the search for.
I agree. Because like, if you don't have that, or someone who you can rely on, like, hey, like I was saying earlier, I would jump on a grenade, or I would back him up, and like, if the world ended and we had to defend each other, something crazy like that, or something. But that's I feel like that's the pinnacle of friendship, is you get to a point where you can rely on each other so well, you don't have to ask for it. You just know it's there.
If you
know?
ask, they will answer.
Yeah.
It's
And
a great achievement.
and I guess the highest point of a friendship would be to think of them as family, or as like a brother or a sister, or however you want to put it. But like, I've only had a few people in my life, friend wise. I've had a lot of friends, but only a very few that I thought I would consider family. And Tony is definitely one of them.
At the very least, like as someone who has been out and done a few things on the world, and I imagine if anyone's actually listening on this, on the other line, we may be talking into the void, but if anyone's actually listening to our inane conversations, I have no doubts that on Discord, on Steam, or whatever other gaming platform, or whatever you do, there's a friends list that's probably over 100 people long. How many of those people do you talk to? How many of those people do you regularly communicate to? How many of those people is there actually connection with? We all meet people throughout our lives. But the ones you've been able to talk to for a week, a month, a year from now, I've known a lot of people. I've had friends. But right now I can name on like freaking the fingers on my hand. And it's those very few people I will always remember. And this son of a bitch. Buddy, you're the thumb. I don't think I could actually do too much, but you know the point I'm getting at.
Yes.
You make a lot of friends, but there's a very few people who you would loan $1,000 to, no questions asked.
Yeah.
By the way, do you have $1,000? By the way,
Not yet.
no worries. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But
Where's
the point I'm getting at is,
my money?
so
I had to.
you were just talking about the fucking joke. And I was master joke. You want to know something? You should probably end it on that, because right now, like, oh, good lord, I have so many things to say, but that's a good.
No, I
That's a
wanted
good
you
enough
to
ending
finish your
on.
statement.
I already finished my statement, and you fucking killed it with a joke. You killed it with a good fucking joke. No, fuck you. End it now. End it now.
Okay.
No. I ain't dealing with this.
All
No.
right, everyone.
No one's gonna hear my fucking pains of cries and agony of how I wasn't able to make that joke immediately. Ah! Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
No,
Peace out, everyone.
good lord.